There's a big change in the international order, and the United States is still the primary international actor, but it's no longer as dominant as it once was. And that's a big change, and it has huge implications for U.S. strategy. We were never as influential as we and others believed. But the fact is, we did have dominant military capability. We were the largest economy in the world by far. Our peer competitors were a distant second. So there was a huge gravitational pull to American power. That has begun to dim, and people perceive a future in which we will have other competitors that are more equal, and they're beginning to explore alternatives than being aligned with us. And it produces a sea change in the nature of influence in the international system, and we have to be able to respond to that. The United States built, brokered, protected, safeguarded a global economic system that allowed other powers to rise, and now other powers have risen. The rise of China, of India, of Brazil as major economic players, but also now major political and foreign policy players. So the irony is that the great challenge to American power is coming from the success of a system that we built. I think as we look ahead, the United States is going to maintain military dominance for a long time to come. But there are real limits to what military dominance can achieve. We've seen the costs of attempting to have sort of onshore dominance in a place like Iraq and Afghanistan. We could theoretically still defeat China in a military encounter, but why on earth would we want to go down that route? It's not clear what exactly it is that global military dominance gets us in terms of core foreign policy outcomes. There are certain things that we can accomplish on the counterterrorism front, but in terms of geostrategic issues or major foreign policy issues, it's a limited tool. Economically, our economy is in a little bit of trouble now, as we all know, deeply buried in debt. But much more important point is that our economy, the Chinese economy, the Brazilian, the Indian, these are all completely interwoven. There is a single global economy. We grow and we fall together at different rates, with different distributions, and et cetera, but the health of the global economy is a common interest. In between those two things is the world of diplomacy and informal influence and soft power and all of these things. And there, I think the future is that the United States is going to have to invest much more energy in the diplomacy of soft power, in the diplomacy of alliance building, not just with our traditional allies, but with a much broader grouping of states. We're going to have to be much more creative in pulling together coalitions to produce outcomes in one train or a different train. And I think we're going to have to invest more heavily in multilateralism as well. Formal institutions, informal institutions that can pull together lots of actors to get things done. I'd like to believe that the world is a safer place. It's not necessarily true. Deep economic integration did not forestall the First World War. Deep economic integration does not forestall nationalism. We see the rise of nationalist parties in China, in the United States, in India, in Europe. There are people who are strongly resisting the pressures of economic integration and are kind of trying to push towards a decoupling economically that would have wrenching economic and political consequences. The fact of rising power will produce military tensions, resource tensions between China and Japan, Japan and Russia, Russia and China, China and India, us and China. There are going to be tensions. It's going to be complicated. This is one of the reasons I write that we need to invest in conflict management and de-escalation mechanisms. We can't just assume that because we have deeply shared economic interests that we're not going to see rising tensions. We absolutely are, and we need to invest up front in making sure those don't spill out into broader conflict.